Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here. Welcome. Good afternoon, Daryl. It's good to see you. I am Coach Les, and I am here this afternoon with Less is More Coaching Podcast and Videocast. Welcome, Joey. Welcome, Daryl. Good to see you both.
Hey, good evening, Coach.
And today's conversation is one of those where I am looking to share an area of training and development that I believe is pertinent to today's business, faith, and family. And looking at what are the ways in which I can, over the next 30 to 45 minutes, impact people's lives that spend time coming in here, because time is our most precious asset. And today and tomorrow, one of the things that I wanted to have a conversation about was positive personality profiles, the DISC model. And I have been a DISC certified trainer now for 3 years. And recently, I took on all of the people that come to me for coaching, having them look at this. And I wanted to read the introduction to this book by Dr. Robert Rohn about DISC. And the really cool thing about DISC is, for those of you that are in computers and programming, there are programs out there, and they call it open source, where you can go find a program, use that program, and not to have to pay a penny for it. And this is one of those, this philosophy, this DISC assessment is one of those things that is also in that same genre. It's open source. There are many people out there using this technology from the 1920s around personality behavior. And Dr. Robert Rohn took it one step further, and he is one of the clearest communicators that Zig Ziglar has ever met. And he formed a relationship with him. And as a Zig Ziglar coach, I was able to go through the DISC certification while I was at training 1 year. And I went, all right, this is it. And I'm going to share what Zig says about him. I'm from the back of the book, and then I'll share the introduction. Zig Ziglar says, communication has been his life. I believe it is the key to happy, healthy relationships, as well as success in the financial world. Dr. Robert Rohn is one of the clearest communicators I have ever heard, and these truths can change your life. I believe and appreciate the principles found in this book. We use this system in my own company and have profited immensely from it. You are in for a real treat. Using the ultimate discovery system, Dr. Rohn's positive personality profiles will help you to understand yourself and others in order to have better relationships. Dr. Robert's book will clearly describe key differences in basically personality types, give practical insights into how people respond, provide keys for understanding your children, and explain methods for working with others. And he starts the book with human behavior is both a science and an art. It is a science in the sense that it is observable and repeatable. It's empirical in nature. We can objectively study it and obtain specific data from it. Research has enabled us to notice that most people have predictable patterns of behavior. It is an art in the sense that we can experience it, modify it, and enjoy it. We can feel our behavior and adjust it according to our circumstances and environment. Your personality is somewhat like your natural state. Someone has said it is the way we are when we operating on automatic pilot. When I refer to personality as being our nature, I mean it is the way we operate when we're most relaxed with ourselves. It's the way we're wired. You would not expect a newborn tiger to act the same as a newborn deer. they have different natures or temperaments. If you would approach them, you would do so differently because they are, in fact, different. You would adapt and adjust to the circumstances that their natures demand. Looking further into the animal world, we find enlightening illustrations. As we develop our study, seeing things in the extreme may help us to see them more clearly in the narrow. So the nature of a lion is very destructive. He's called the king of beasts. As a way of life, he kills and destroys. A lion would not make a very good household pet. On the other hand, a French poodle certainly would not be viewed as a ferocious beast, but simply as a cute little dog to have around the house. We can see in the animal world and creatures have different temperaments, personalities, or makeups. They are designed to be a certain way at birth. Unfortunately, they do not possess the ability to think things through and act appropriately. They simply react to most of their circumstances and situations based on how they are wired. Anyone knows that you should approach certain animals differently and treat them differently based upon what you know about them. The same is true with people. In order to have the best relationship possible with other people, you need to treat them a certain way based on how they are wired. As humans, we have a mind, and we should be able to think more clearly than an animal. We may feel we should be ferocious in one situation, funny in another, quiet in another, and even pensive in still another set of circumstances. One of these moods may feel more comfortable to us, but as we learn about different personality styles, we will gain ability to adapt ourselves depending on the circumstances, to act appropriately. We may have the temperament of a wild lion or a cute puppy, but by the act of our mind and will, we can adjust ourselves to meet the needs of our situation and use correct behavior. It is important at the very outset of our study together that we remember we are not trying to find a certain style of behavior or a special personality type. Rather, we are looking at differences in behavior. The point of our study will not be good or bad or right or wrong. Our forum will be the differences in personality styles. After all, if I understand you and you understand me, doesn't it make sense that we can have a better relationship? Let's get started. So in this, one of the things that he starts to do is starts to look at in this book about how DISC and the personality behavior syndrome and testing is compiled. And my goal today is to go through this, not word for word from his text, but to share with you powerfully the 4 basic personality types and a little bit about how we can look and see for ourselves where we fit into this. And then for those of you that are interested, I will send you to my website, and I will make sure that you have the opportunity to go to my website and do the DISC assessment if you'd like. Okay. 4 temperament models of behavior. So in reality, we have people fit into 2 categories, either outgoing or reserved. Now, of course, there are going to be what I would call extremes or minimums in this. We're going to talk about the average for the purpose of this broadcast today. So to understand outgoing, you're fast, you're paced, you're moving, you're chatting, you're meeting with people. Reserved, you're a little more slower paced. The reserved people tend to be called the steady eddies. And then those are the first 2 ways to delineate people. Then the second is, are you a task-oriented person or a people-oriented person? And in looking at this pie, the top half of the pie is outgoing, the bottom half is reserved, the left-hand side is task-oriented, and the people side is the right hand side. And when you divide it like that, you come up with a 4 square pi, DISC, clockwise, starting from the upper left with the D and around ISC. And super excited to check in and see what does it look like to be any of those categories, and how does it play a part in business? Because that's really what we're here for in this short time, is how can I provide you, the listener, with value that can make a difference in your business? Even though I'm not forcing you to buy anything or pay for anything currently up to this point, I still want to provide you with some value. So we've looked at the first 4 segments, and I'm curious, Joey and Daryl, to see how do you fit into that, and what do you think about it so far? So Joey, what are you when it comes to, are you outgoing or reserved?
You know, when it comes to business and social, I have the ability. I tend to move more towards the outgoing. But one of the things that was mentioned earlier, though, you said personality was when you are in your. Did you say when you're in your most comfortable state or
setting,
something along those lines?
Yes.
Yeah. So I also tend to be reserved. My brother thinks I'm reserved. My brother tells me that I kind of keep a little bit of a tight lip on things. I only share what I I don't share much. And I know that of myself, kind of reserved. But when it comes to business, I believe people would put me into the category of that outgoing category. Although it's right. I said it earlier today in another room, kind of similar, and I won't go into any great detail there. But I come off with that outgoing, but there is a side of me that was like, I just want to be reserved. Is that possible? I mean, I don't know. That's just how I am. I guess we're all unique. And then as far as the task versus people, I would definitely say I'm still a little bit of both too. Like tasks get me going. Like I love when we have initiatives at work and there's like, hey, we need to get this done in 2 weeks, and I want to see my name at the top of the list. Like I got the most done. But then I'm also, if the other one you said was people oriented, I think, is that right?
Yep. Task or people.
Yeah. I mean, so a little bit of both. Is that okay to have a little bit of all 4 of them?
It is. If you
it's gotta be okay, because that's where I am. I'll yield to my coach.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm what they call a flatliner, right? So I'm a little of all 4. And I literally have a line when I take the test. I'm right across the middle, Joey. So
yeah, I would say some. Yeah, without taking a test, I think that would be somewhere where I might fall into.
So perfect. So I think it's I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate you playing along with me in this and taking a look. And with that, I'm going to head over to Robert. Hi, Robert. How are you today?
How you guys doing today? I'm doing fine.
Phenomenal. May I ask you the same questions that I asked Joey?
Of course.
Would you say you're more outgoing or reserved?
I believe I'm more reserved. I'm less outgoing. I'm more reserved and detail orientated. In my type of situation, I like to get assignments and work on them and then bring the team in, and then start delegating the assignments to the team members.
I love it. And would you say you're more task-oriented or more people-oriented?
Well, I got a military background, so I would probably be considered more of a task-oriented person than a people-oriented person.
Excellent. I love it. Well, so here's the summary of thought on the outgoing and the reserved, so that you can both hear a little bit about it. People who are outgoing and fast-paced types can balance their own personality style by learning how to be steady and cautious. Also, people who are reserved and slower-paced types can balance their own personality style by learning how to be more dominant and inspiring. The goal is not so much to try and change your personality style as much as it is to try and get it under control in order for you to adapt and adjust to learn how to meet the needs of the people in your current surroundings. With task and people, I think this one is great. Task-oriented people can balance their own personality style by learning how to be more empathetic with others. People-oriented types can balance their own personality style by learning how to plan their work, then work their plan. So in the beginning here, when we look at this and we put it all together, we're going to have the 4 parts of the equation here, like a pie, like I mentioned before. In clockwise order, starting with the 10 o'clock task outgoing, that is going to be the D individual. Then the second between outgoing and people is going to be I. Between people and reserved is going to be S. And to be reserved and task-oriented, you're going to be in the C category. So thus the D type is outgoing and task. I type is outgoing and people-oriented. S's are reserved and people-oriented, and C are reserved and task-oriented. So with that, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the letters mean. What's the interpretation of the letters? And this is where it gets exciting. And when you go through the test itself puts you further or deeper into each of these categories, like a point on a graph. So if you are a D personality, I'm going to start here because, of course, they like to start. They're dominant, they're direct, they're demanding, they're decisive, they're determined, they're doers, and they're negative. Their Achilles heel is they're defiant. D's like to win. They like to plan for the future. They like new ideas. They like results. They like to be their own boss. They like to move fast. And they like a challenge. Now, D's, as you can tell, are results-oriented. And their secret tip to a D is before you can be in authority, you must first learn to be under authority. So with that, people would say, so what's the percentage of D's in the world? And this is where a little humor will slip in. 10% are D's. Well, wait a minute. That's like 15% less than a quarter. Yep. Just remember, God is merciful. So that's the thing with D's. All right. I's. Whew. They are your best friend. They are fun. They're inspiring, influencing, impressionable, interactive, impressive, involved. They're negative. Sometimes they can be a little bit a little bit illogical. They can be a little bit illogical. They like to be liked. They like to express their ideas and feelings. They like to be in front of a group. They like surprises. They like lots of activities, and they love recognition. And this is where, like, movie actors, starters, the narcissist, they tend to be a little narcissistic. And as I said, they like to be liked. They like to express their ideas and feelings. They like being in front of a group. They like surprises. They like lots of fun at activities. Eyes are also, they have a hard time staying focused. If you can imagine that. All right. So let's jump into the S's and the C's, and then we'll have a discussion about it. Oh, the secret tip for an I is it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Eyes tend to be the class clown, the troublemaker. I was the troublemaker. I was a big I when I was at this point, right in the beginning. S's: supportive, steady, stable, sweet, status quo, and shy. Their Achilles heel, being a sucker. As I said, their color's blue for calm. They like to be accepted. They like teamwork. The S's, as I said, this is kind of fun. They like to be accepted. They like teamwork and cooperation. They like sticking with what works. They like harmony. They like things to stay the same. They like appreciation. So the one negative about an S is they can be a sucker. They love peace and harmony. And as I said, their color is blue, so it fits in. They are the most loving kind of all people. Going to C's. Now, this is where C's, I believe, are going to open up a lot for you and share with you a lot of understanding about the C's that exist out there in your world. They're cautious, calculating, competent, conscientious, contemplative, careful, and their negative is they are cold. They have quality answers. And they like to be right. They like to know what is expected of them. They like to have an established pattern that they can do over and over and over and over and over, and doing a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, over and over and over. They like clear instructions. They like finishing what they start. They like organizing, as I said. Now, here's the wild thing about C's: physicians, dentists, studio architects. Now, why all those? Because they're very particular. The best example I can use is when they go into surgery. They expect their stuff to be just so. I think the biggest thing is what I call quality answers. And I appreciate it and would love to hear from you, Joey. What are your thoughts on this?
Didn't really relate to D at all, the first one. I would definitely say, like what I said before, though, can you be all four of them? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that you mentioned with I and the S and the C that I think a little bit of each area. I'm definitely not organized, or I don't really have I don't have that personality type that says everything has to be in order. In the kitchen, I like there to be order, but I'm not. But I don't stress over that either. I show and lead by example and say, hey, this is the best way to do it. This is how it should be done. But when I think of a doctor and I think of the ones that I know and their personality, is if I'm understanding you, it may be somewhat militant to where it's precise. And so I'm not that precise, but I think because of the other personality attributes that I have and characteristics, the wanting to be like the sweetness or whatever you want to call it, the other ones, I think because of that, when I say something needs to be done, it's done because I show people and lead by example. So I think that's how I win people over with those kind of personality characteristics, not the militant style that we may have seen in the D and the C. I think I resonated a little bit with the I and the S and a little bit of the C. I mean, a little bit of the C too. There were some of the first ones you mentioned in C. I like clear instructions. I personally like to be given a task that's somewhat repetitive, and I like to see the growth, day in, day out, week in, week out, the same thing, and how I can improve it each time I do it better and better. So that has some of that as well. I thought it was interesting. I saw myself in a few different categories.
Beautiful. And I can, I'll be happy to send you a copy of this sheet so you can take a look at it as well. It's handwritten, but I think you'll be able to see it. Okay, Joey.
Yeah. And we've known each other now for over a year, and, you don't have to say what you think of me, but I mean, do you think I'm accurately describing what you know of me? The way I'm describing myself. It's kind of weird to describe yourself, but from what you know of me, am I seeing myself and saying how you think you see me as well? If that's the so no, I'm not a C. I don't give clear answers or ask clear questions.
It's a journey too. And I think it would be fun for you to take the test, just for the simple fact it gives people an understanding of why they do what they do and how they do it. So I'm grateful for that. And I think it's, and I think the other thing, as I look at this, is how can you bring about a shift and exchange to move from one category into the next category, or soften one and increase a little structure on the other one. And that's what my game has been, to master that.
And as this last half an hour, 45 minutes has been going on, and I've thought of this a lot over the last several, the 2 or 3 years that I've been in my new role. I have my manager style. I think I shared with you, I have college kids who I managed almost 10 to 15 years ago. I'm still getting invites to their weddings because they said I was the coolest boss, and we've maintained friendships when they were in their late teens, early 20s, and we've kept friendships, right? But I also know that if I'm going to be the next level of management per se, like my boss's job, that management style is great. I could probably lead the team he leads, and I can do some of the things he does when it comes to the coaching and the being the positive supporter, being the cheerleader, being that person and getting people to work through positive reinforcement. But there is also another side of the business that I probably need to really focus on, and that's being more calculated and more precise in some of the details. So yeah, great thing to be discussing, because it's somewhere where I probably need to grow if I'm going to grow into the next level position.
That's awesome. And that's, to me, that's always a little bit of a trial, right? It's a little bit of a test on how do we grow those different areas. So I look forward to next week where we can jump right back in and looking at the total picture of what do you call it and why. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. I'll make sure to add this to my calendar, so I'm here next Monday, because I love this, what we just discussed.
Awesome, Joey. Thank you so much. And with that, Prithvi and Daryl, I want to say thank you. Thanks for coming to the room. Would love it if you listen to the replay, and I think the replays will make a big difference for you. And let me know if you want to take a look at the little test. Yeah. All right.
Coach, I'm going to check out myself. Daryl, just want to say hello to Daryl. Good seeing you. As always, hopefully you're safe on the road. Amen.
And thank you all. This room will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I want to thank all of those of you that take a look at this and come and look at this online. Really appreciate it. I'm super excited to share with you this document right here. You could, at this point, click on the link, click on the photograph, and do a screenshot right now, and then take a gander at it. Very, very, very educational. Thank you, everybody.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
We've increased our sales by about 33%, blowing all of our goals out of the water.
In my first 6 months, I actually grew my business with his help over 500%. Literally 500%.
Les Hill is the type of person that invests back in you and back into your company. So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.